Hello everyone, this is Woody Adams here with Intuit. I wanted to welcome you to this 20-minute or so excursion into Intuit Practice Management, or IPM. You've probably heard about that we've been working on this product for a while here. It is now commercial, and everybody who signs up gets a 90-day trial. It is a web-based solution that can either be a standalone or integrate with Lacerte, or integrate with Lacerte and QuickBooks, or just QuickBooks. So quite a different variety of firm. The three-pronged approach, well, technically four for IPM, is client management, engagement tracking in your tasks, right? And staff or time entry and management. Of course, you can do some reporting as well. I'm gonna go over the 6 tabs right away. But that's the overall goal for a firm. The power of being able to report on the data that's entered by staff. It's something that's to be daily absorbed into the firm workflow. And then you can get reports like I'm looking at right here. This is my firm dashboard. Just as an example, I see my engagements as of a certain period, when they're due, if they're overdue, right? Who they're assigned to, as far as the staff, what status they're in, and particularly for the Lacerte engagements, which are really the returns from Lacerte, come over as engagements. We'll go over that status there. It's actually determined by Lacerte. And then, of course, you can add columns, estimated hours, and then the hours input, and then how much is percent input, or percent complete, if you will. This is kind of a partner or office manager view. But let's go over the tabs first, and then we'll dive in like a daily workflow that would be typical for you and how I got to a report like this. And we'll also look at some optimization and billing analysis reports as well, because all that information you guys are trying to get now, either with another practice management solution, Excel, trying to use QuickBooks with the reporting there, etc. So let's dive in. 6 tabs: dashboard, clients, engagements, time and billing, reports, admin. That's it. Let's start with the dashboard, and this is actually the first place that someone is going to land when they log into practice management, once you invite them as a user. Again, this is for everybody in the firm: the office manager, partner, and the staff. And they'll all be doing different things, but everybody's going to land on the dashboard, because on the dashboard I have the ability to kind of enter my time and link it to an engagement and a work code. We'll talk about the work codes in a bit, and enter my hours. I can even start a timer and track that and enter some notes. For example, the notes here on the timesheet actually flow to the timesheet in QuickBooks if you guys use QuickBooks to run payroll. So it can be a real end-to-end perspective, IPM, from Lacerte all the way through to QuickBooks, but you can use it as a standalone solution as well. Don't have to be a Lacerte user. We have many Pro Series users actually using IPM just to track everything, and they either sync with the QuickBooks or not, because I can also print invoices out of here. But I can track expenses, either pass them through to the client or create a bill in QuickBooks. And then my engagements, when I log in or staff logs in, I can see the engagements that are assigned to me from the staff perspective, different from the firm dashboard, which the report we just showed you, showing the engagements, for the firm, that the partner or the office manager would want to see. And then your personal reports, you can add reports there. The next tab, and we'll go through each tab, in more detail, like I'm going to enter some time, etc. But I just want to quickly go through the overlay. The second tab is clients. IPM allows you to manage your clients. Your clients will come over from Lacerte, and if you choose to sync with QuickBooks, your customers from the Customer Center will come up to IPM as well, and they'll meet in the cloud, right, in IPM. And I'll show you if I drill in here on Jeffrey and click the More tab, just so you can see the correlation. Here are the names in Lacerte, and here was the name in QuickBooks. Here are the phone numbers and addresses, so you can tell how we correlated it. If IPM is unable to correlate it, it'll allow you to accept the match that we're suggesting or reject it, things like that. So very helpful there as well. And the 3 sub-tabs within the client screen: current engagements, right? So your current engagements for the client, and you can drill into the engagement from here, and we'll look at the engagement too. And of course, you have some columns as well. Notes and call history. Let's say Jeff calls me, I can click Add Note and put in a quick note and show it was a phone call, regarding tax return, that type of work, let's say. And do I need a follow-up? Click Save, and that'll be added to the notes and call history. And then finally, the billing history tab. This both shows opening WIP from QuickBooks, or if you send the invoice over there and you're paid, the new balance, if you will. or the last payment, as well as total WIP and invoices created. And we, of course, will go over, the time and billing in more detail later on in this broadcast. So these are the sub-tabs. And just a few information from Lacerte. The Lacerte ID comes over as well. Or if you're not a Lacerte user, again, you could either add the clients yourself, or if you're a QuickBooks user and you have them in the customer center, it's really easy just to sync them up and bring the information in. You can search, I should say, the list if you want to, or actually sort on the left by clicking an alphabetic letter, things like that if you want, or just type in the client name, or you can filter the list, all active individual business or inactive clients, things like that. Now notice you can also add an engagement from here, which we're going to do when we get within engagements, because that's another big component of IPM. So this is the Clients tab. The Engagements tab. Let's go look at this next. This is the dashboard. Again, probably a partner or office manager view right here. I can see in the chart, what status they're in. There's actually 6 workflow stages in IPM. Not started, received, in process, review, on extension, complete. Now that's my nomenclature I've chosen for them. You can actually edit in the settings. So when we get to admin, I'll show you quickly. You can edit the different stage names based on your nomenclature that you use in the firm. And I'll also show you where you can link, for those that are Lacerte users, or map, I should say, your Lacerte statuses with the workflow stages. And this is how I have, 9 not started individual returns, 1 in process, 3 in review. I have a couple bookkeeping. The totals here you can click on, and then the chart. So it's a dashboard that would show me, how many I have in each bucket, and then I can drill in to view them. Before I do that, and we look more at engagements, I can filter the dashboard by staff too, again, to see how Clayton is doing. How about Marty? Well, I haven't assigned anything to Marty, so I better get on that, or Ray, etc., or just to everyone. Let's go ahead and drill in on the total of the Lacerte individuals. 13. Again, it shows a chart, so I have many in pro forma status, so I should probably start those. And of course the numbers here, days since last modification, just to show you that. And then I'm going to click View All. And here are those engagements. Now anything really that's blue, just as a tip within IPM, you just click on it and it'll open up the engagement. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to open up the Lacerte engagement. Now there's really 2 types of engagements within IPM. Those that come in from Lacerte, where Lacerte will actually decide the status based on the status in Lacerte and what the name is and the type and who the staff preparer is. And if it's been e-filed or missing data, you'd see those settings there, whether they're checked off or not. And I'll show you, I'll just create a new engagement that is, a non-Lacerte engagement where you have a lot more control over, well, what's the engagement name, the type, and the status. But this is coming over from Lacerte, Jeff Becker's, individual 2012 return. Now let me go to Lacerte for a second just to show you what syncs there for those that are Lacerte users in the office. Now the engagement, really anybody in the firm can add an engagement. Maybe though you just want to have it to be the office manager partner, add them and you assign them to the staff. And there's security, of course, and user access too. We'll get to that. So I'm going to drill in on screen 1 for Jeff. And most client information 1 comes over, and you can see down here I have Aaron Suggs as a staff preparer. So that flowed in automatically. If it is a habit for your firm to, when the return changes hands, or it goes from Aaron to say Clayton, and you actually change the staff preparer name, it'll update and auto assign it to the staff in IPM. But you can always override the assignment on the engagement in IPM and assign it to somebody else if you want, and then they'll see it when they go to their dashboard and click on My Engagements. Right, so that's really what IPM is trying to do, help you track. And then if I go back to the client's screen, highlight Jeffrey and do F4, as you guys will do. It's under review right now, and that's the status. If I change the status to on extension, we'll eventually see that status change on the engagement, and it usually takes a couple, 3 minutes, I've noticed. That's basically integration with Lacerte. Now let's go ahead and cancel right now, and I want to add an engagement. Oh, before I do that, let's quickly go through the other tabs. I want to make sure I finish the overlay before I dive in. So we will be going in and adding a new engagement that's non-Lacerte, and I'll show you when Jeffrey's status changes, right, from under review to, I forgot which I did, but it'll tell me once it comes over, and then we'll enter some time, etc. Time and billing is the next tab. This is where probably the partner or mostly the office manager or admin is going to create the invoices, for the clients based on time entered by your staff. Because it's web-based, everybody, I can see them having either Lacerte or whatever you use, Pro Series. In QuickBooks, maybe only the office admin will have QuickBooks, but I'm sure the staff will have QuickBooks too, being in and out of other files. But I mean for the firm office file for QuickBooks. But I can see you guys having those programs open, your Gmail, Outlook, all this other stuff, and you would have IPM up in either Internet Explorer, Firefox, or Chrome. Everybody's logged in because you have multiple users in here. So staff are entering time and the admin is kind of reviewing it. And then finally they come to time and billing and they can actually create drafts from the time, from the WIP that you'll see here. And then once they create it, they can actually finalize it and post to QuickBooks. You can also collect time and post the time to QuickBooks as well. So that's what the time and billing section does. And then finally, you have reports. A lot of reports here. We give you just a few here, and I'm going to show you the billing analysis engagement staff member once we're done today. That'll be the last thing I show you. But system reports, just to show you, there's a lot of reports. Personal reports, client reports, reports on staff, time summary, WIP, by staff, and then client reports, and time and expense detail, and engagement management. It's also a great one. And of course, you can build your own report from a particular template if you like. And I can kind of quote unquote memorize these reports. If you guys are used to QuickBooks, very similar process, and add them to a particular staff. They'll be in my personal reports section on their dashboard. And then finally, the admin tab. That would be tab 6. This is where you go to get started when you're onboarded to Intuit Practice Management, and where you go to really just set up your preferences or settings. What timesheet do I want to use? Do I need a timer? Am I linking my time and clients to the engagement or not? When does my day of the week start? Monday. Do I round by 1/10 or a quarter of an hour? Right? Work codes. We give you 30 or 40 work codes, but if you sync with QuickBooks, let me go to QuickBooks for a second. You guys might already be using these service items in your list, and you have all your service items there, and that's what you're putting on the invoice in QuickBooks. IPM can take those, and now those are my work codes that I'm going to put on the timesheet. Same with the expense codes. It'll pull in the expense accounts from QuickBooks. The engagement types, I did want to show you. Here's where I can link all my statuses in Lacerte to the workflow stage within IPM, and I can even change the name of the stages. So 6 workflow stages, like I had mentioned on that engagement tab. And then user rights. So those are the big ones. Here's where you go to invite your users. So those are the 6 tabs. Overall, dashboard, clients, engagements, time and billing, reports, admin. I'm going to go back to engagements, although I can add an engagement really from anywhere. You'll see this add engagement tab. I shouldn't say from anywhere. You can do it from the clients tab and the engagements tab and the my engagements sub tab of the dashboard, right? So it's kind of like QuickBooks, couple 3 ways to do things. I'm going to click Add Engagement, and this will be a non-Lacerte engagement. And then we'll go and do some time entry. And I'm going to assign this one to Aaron, and this engagement name will just be, we'll call it payroll, right? Payroll processing, if you will. And you can create your own engagement types too for, the non-Lacerte engagements as well. Look, I have client data review in there. I'm using to clean up QuickBooks files, etc. So trying to track any kind of task or engagement or even follow-up that you have to do, and you're going to assign it to staff or even do it yourself, and be able to assign the time to it as well as the client, and then report on that. And that's really what IPM is trying to do at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm going to choose payroll. The due date, it's the 29th. I got to get on that one. Good thing they don't have direct deposit, right? That had to be in yesterday. And then I can choose the status myself. So very similar to the Lacerte engagement. However, there's no yellow section, and I have the ability to edit and choose these fields. For Lacerte engagements, Lacerte determines when the status changes, etc. So let's go to, it's in process. I want to get that done. It is a high, I'll do urgent, and then it's going to take me about 2 hours. Now, what's nice about estimating the hours is that then based on the time input, assuming on the timesheet I assign the time to the engagement, it'll give me that percent input or percent complete. And I'm going to leave it, assigned to Aaron. But if I wanted to assign it to Ray or Marty or Michael, Michelle, that's fine. And then it would show up in there, my engagement section on their dashboard, and put in notes. No direct deposit, need to be done by tonight. And I can even make it recurring or not. If I want to do it like bi-weekly, like every Friday and then every 2 weeks, right? It would create those, or monthly as well. How many months? So I'm going to leave it as non-recurring, but you can set up some recurring engagements as well. And just with those, you have to enter a start and end date for that. So I'm just going to do the end date for now because I already know it's just a payroll, and I'm going to whip it off really quickly. You can also assign the engagement to a group if you like, if you have groups within the firm or divisions. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And that actually creates an engagement now for payroll, and it's in process, one of the 11. Now let me show you how that matters on the dashboard. Let's say Aaron logs in. Different computer using the browser, right? I was the office admin. I set that up for him. He can go to My Engagements, and he can look at what he has to do today. And he can actually see he has some payroll processing for Aaron, 29. It's going to take about 2 hours. So that one I definitely need to do. And he can drill into the engagement from here just by clicking the blue link if he needs to. Okay. But I'm going to go back to the timesheet, and I'm going to enter some time. Choose the client. You can either quick type and tab off, or just click down and choose it. And I'm going to choose the payroll processing engagement. See, Aaron actually has both the federal return for Aaron as well as the payroll processing. So I'm going to choose that one. And I'm going to choose my payroll processing item. And this is Thursday. I'll go ahead and put in, let's say 1.5. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Now, before I do that, I can, put some notes here. I could have also started the timer if I wanted to. I'll just go ahead and click Save, but just for the timer so you guys can see that. Let's say you're starting on a return, and we'll go to Jeffrey Becker here because I know that I have his return assigned to me, and I'll choose tax prep. And they can do this during, after, what have you, tax preparation, and I'll put my cursor in the field and click Start Timer. And that'll go ahead and start the actual timer running right here. And of course, it has to be at least a 10th increment. And then when I'm done, I would just go ahead and put the cursor in there and then click Stop Time. Right. So while that's doing that, let's go ahead and move on to My Expenses. If you wanted to assign mileage or something like that to a client, you could do that here. Basically, those are some options we give you, and they link to the accounts or items in QuickBooks, depending on how you have that set up and how you bill out. Maybe you guys use items linked to accounts. You could just do it to the accounts here as well. And then, of course, you saw My Engagements and then any personal reports. So that's basically the dashboard tab. We've gone through clients and engagements as well. And you can add an engagement from the dashboard as well just by clicking Add. So add engagements from three different places. And that's basically the timesheet is going to be, the dashboard is going to be for everybody, but I can see the staff and office manager being here the most. Right? They're entering time, they're capturing what they just did, they're using the timer or not. The office manager can actually enter time for the staff if they want to. You do that from the time and billing section. So let's go back and look at the time billing section. We'll come back to the dashboard, run a couple reports, and we'll leave it at that. So I'm going to go to time and billing. Your staff has entered some time. First step, create a draft. And I am going to actually sync to QuickBooks. However, I'm going to show you where you could actually print out the invoice too if you don't sync to QuickBooks. It's really up to you. And this would be for John Johnson. I can just check off these invoices. I'll do it for both John and Trudy. And this shows my invoicing filter date range, and I can show all expenses or just unbilled WIP only. And I can write up and write down. Right? So there's a report for that. Let's say for John it's $12.60. That was the time, but really I'm charging him $1,500. And then Trudy will just leave her at $1,000. And then I can click Create Draft Invoices. Now, if you want, you can click the little icon. You might be wondering what that is. It'll actually open up the kind of the invoice wizard, if you will, because I don't just have to subtotal by work code. I could subtotal by staff member, things like that. I could hold some time if you're doing some progress billing, okay, that kind of thing. And if you're on Create Drafts and click on the actual client's name, it gives you other client options. Like I could choose a different template. Maybe I want to do a fixed fee, right, or a retainer. Maybe there's no sales tax for that client. Maybe I want to do different billing rates. I could do, here's the staff rate card, which I'll show you when we get to the user section, but maybe I would just do the activity rate, which is the work code rate, or I could do custom rates by work code if I want, depending on the client. But I'm just going to do straight time and material for both Trudy and John, leave it as it is. I'm going to click Create Draft Invoices. It's in process. You'll see these intermittent windows as it processes. You can either go right back to time and billing or just wait if you like. It's really up to you. Once it's done, it'll change to completed successfully. I click back, and then I go to finalize, which could be my review / then post to QuickBooks process. And you've probably seen here I've kind of rearranged or grouped the window differently. I want to look at all my unposted time. All this stuff has already been posted for the amount, but I want to look at the unposted time. So I have Trudy and John here. Right? I'm going to go ahead and just check off Trudy, and that's the person I'm going to go ahead and send to QuickBooks. Maybe I'll wait on John later. But before I do that, what if for those who aren't using QuickBooks for billing? Well, what does the invoice look like? So I'm going to click on Trudy's name, and it's going to open up another window. And here's basically what the window, what the invoice will look like. You can put in your notes, things in here, and again, you see it's linked to the AR account in QuickBooks. But again, I can just print it out of here. And when, just to give you an idea of what the template will look like, I'll go ahead and click Print, and then go ahead and print again. And this one's for invoice lines only. So I have my invoice details, and if I had put in some notes, it would show in the description, etc., the total amount due that I could just send, out of IPM if I want to, or give to the client that's sitting there, right? But a lot of our users are actually working with QuickBooks, so I'll go ahead and check off Trudy right now. And again, time for 1,000. Notice over here I'm invoicing for 1,500 for John, but 1,260 is a time. So I'm going to go ahead and invoice for Trudy there, and we'll go ahead and click Post. Again, it completes successfully. You click back, and then that's posted, and it'll say pending. And now let's look at it from the QuickBooks side. I'm going to bring QuickBooks up here, and the sync does use the Intuit Sync Manager. And I'll go ahead and open that so you can see it's actually something that can run automatically. So no one has to push it or do this manually. I'm going to sync it manually just so you can see the invoice, but it's really set up to go just automatically under the options and automatic sync options. So I'm going to go ahead and click Sync Now and just minimize that. And now you guys can see for Trudy here, I have an invoice. Came in from the web, from IPM. And this is what it kind of looks like within QuickBooks, and you can dress it up here and send it to your client. Here's a description, and you can change these descriptions from IPM, right? So just be created within QuickBooks, and then you receive payment here, and then when I receive payment here, again through the Sync Manager, as it syncs, it'll update my my overall WIP, at least from QuickBooks, or my balance really for that client in the Client tab in Intuit Practice Management. Notice also I wanted to mention for employees, if you do payroll, time will come over for your employees when you collect and post the time in much the same way I did the invoice. Very similar. So if I just go to a time by name report, you'll be able to see this is all the time for my employees, and it even has it linked to the particular customers in the customer center, right? Those are the clients that are in Intuit Practice Management. So let's talk about reporting. And we'll go to the Reports tab. That was time and billing. And we want to look at a couple reports. Billing analysis by staff member. So remember, we saw the engagement, the firm dashboard at the very beginning. Here by staff member, I can see total hours for the period, billable hours, what the WIP is, what's been held, right? What's been billed, and then of course realization, any cost to me, and then the margin. Another report too would be the billing analysis by engagement. So the actual task or work you're doing for the particular client. Here's the client. Again, the total WIP, what's been held, the realization, the cost to the business, and then the margin, either dollar amount or percent. And those are just a couple of the key reports or data that you guys are trying to get using other methods. And then Intuit Practice Management will go ahead and just give it to you, assuming that your staff is going into the dashboard and they're entering their time, right, and booking that against the client and a particular engagement, right, and saving it and submitting it depending on the firm policy, right. Staff is going to be coming into the dashboard, clients, and engagement tabs, Right? When you set up a user under admin, the staff will have the 3 tabs. The office manager or partner will have access to all 6. So they'll be taking that time and going to time and billing, creating engagements. The partner and office manager will be running reports and just maintaining IPM under the admin tab for preferences and setup and inviting other users. So that is Intuit Practice Management overall, and I hope that this was helpful. And whether you're a Lacerte and QuickBooks user, or only Lacerte, or not Lacerte, maybe Pro Series, whether you want to sync to QuickBooks or not, or just totally standalone, Intuit Practice Management can definitely help you in the firm to manage, staff and time, engagements, clients, time and billing, and get some really good reporting on how things are going and where they are. Have a great day.